And if you got a feeling to send something, $10 or 100,000 or whatever you can afford. If you send $100 to this ministry, or a dollar, or 1,000, or 10,000, or whatever, you got a share in this. So in heaven, when there's the big receiving line for all the people that are in the kingdom because of my efforts, you get to stand right next to me and shake their hand too, as if you were an equal partner in it all. And if you got a feeling to send something, $10 or 100,000 or whatever you can afford. If you send $100 to this ministry, or a dollar, or 1,000, or 10,000, or whatever, you got a share in this.
Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. This is your brother Chris Lasala. Hope you're all doing well today. In this video, I'm going to make a quick response to some things that Doug Perry said in his video. The only reason the video is long is because I'm going to play what he said, because I want people to see how manipulative he is and the things he's trying to do to make me look evil and make me look like a bad person and unloving, and how he had no answers for any of the accusations I made about him of people fornicating there, doing drugs there, and him wasting people's time and using the body of Christ as his own personal labor force so he could live without a job. He didn't have any valid answers to any of that. There were many people that were asking him, was Chris right? Do you still use this stuff that you said you were going to build? Or did anything ever come of this? And it turns out I was right. Nothing he did came to anything. It was all a bunch of junk and all a waste of time. And none of it had anything to do with ministry. Him and his wife used the defense that it's not always about, finishing something or being successful, but it's more about the fellowship. I beg to differ. The Bible says if it's not of God, it will come to nothing. Therefore, if he sets out to do something and it comes to nothing, it was never of God. That is biblical. There's no way around that. Then his wife said, well, sometimes we just like to fellowship and do work together, and that's part of the ministry. Well, most of the people that are coming out there to do work for Jesus Christ, not do whatever Doug Perry tells them to do so he could stick money in his pocket. So that is not a valid excuse. If you want a fellowship, fellowship. Don't connect business, scrap metal, and little side deals that Doug has going with that fellowship. One has nothing to do with the other. Ministry is not business. Ministry has nothing to do with selling things and all this junk. Which I find funny because in this video, Doug Perry said I have a deliverance business. But in the last video, he said he never heard of me charging for deliverance. But now that I came against him and exposed him for being deceptive and manipulating people for money, now all of a sudden he's saying I have a deliverance business.
Give it to Chris Lasala. At least I've never heard him charging anybody for deliverance, but there are those out there, and they ought to be avoided like the plague.
If he doesn't repent and start praying for more love and clearly manifesting it to everyone around, then he will have just built a nice little deliverance business with his own hands, and Jesus will call him a stranger.
Give it to Chris Lasala. At least I've never heard him charging anybody for deliverance, but there are those out there, and they ought to be avoided like the plague.
Then he will have just built a nice little deliverance business with his own hands, and Jesus will call him a stranger.
Now, it's funny how all of a sudden, now that I exposed Doug, my ministry went from a ministry where I do works in the name of Jesus Christ and take no money to a full-blown business. No, Doug, you're running a business. I'm not running a business. You have no evidence I ever was running a business. Even people that don't like me have left here and said I deal righteously with tithes and donations. Not that we teach a tithe, but let's call it donations. People that left here that hate my guts, that would like for me to be dead, have never ever said that I deal unrighteously with money. And a man that deals righteously with money, Doug, is a righteous man pretty much all around. Because that's one of the most difficult things to deal righteously with. Unfortunately, you're failing in that area You have not been able to give any answers for any of the accusations I made. All you do is tell people I'm not loving, that's your opinion. All you do is quote scriptures that talk about love. I agree with them all, and I believe I show that love to people that do the right thing that come here. You're talking about people that left here that were an abomination and did abominable things, did not listen, were disrespectful, and so on. And like I said, those kind of people are not going to see the loving side of me. They're going to see the disciplinarian side of me. I'm running a church. I don't need to go hugging people that don't listen to me, cause trouble, stay in their sin, don't work. But we've talked about all that before, Doug. So let's listen. I'm going to show the people how you manipulate them to make them think I'm a bad person when I brought all facts about the way you deal, and all you're bringing is opinions about my character. So let's see how you're trying to manipulate the people right here.
I am doing a response to a video made by Chris Lasala about this ministry and me. Several, maybe 2 weeks ago. April 29th, I guess, is somewhere around there when he did his video. And I am going to be reading a response, which is available in PDF form in the description of this video.
You know what's funny? He had to take a week to write a response, and he didn't take me up on my offer to face me on a live forum in front of the whole world because he can't do that. He can't move quick enough. Because the Bible says everyone seems right until their adversary comes and answers them. And they want to avoid that paradigm where they say something and then I could say, yeah, but what about this? And then they'll look wrong. You see, everybody could seem right with a YouTube video. But until you get on a live videotape where people could see you back and forth quickly, people can't see who the deceiver is. It's very difficult. I put that offer out to him, all his people. They told me I was wrong. I said, get on a live chat with me. They ran and hid. They said, Chris, you're evil. You just want to make us look stupid. No, you're calling me stupid. If you're saying I'm wrong and you're saying I don't know what I'm talking about, and you can't get on a live conversation with me, you are not right. You cannot. Don't have the truth if you can't do that. I don't back down from anybody. I will back down from people that I think are just jumping down up and down on the internet, trying to waste my time and get my attention by challenging me to a debate. But if someone's up on that thing challenging me and I say to you, get on a live call with me, you better believe the second you say yes, it won't be, I will drop whatever I'm doing right there and get on a live. I won't take time to study. I won't dilly-dally. The second you say yes, I'm going to say, okay, what's your Skype? I'm going to turn my recording device on and I'm going to put you on YouTube. Because that's how I do things. That's where no phoniness could survive in a live contention. This is why in the Bible people contended for the faith. But no, Doug Perry decided to go off and write this long letter rather than just facing me. That's what he decided to do, and that's because he's trying to make it palatable to you where he can't make a mistake. And then he has to have his people proofread it over and over and over again because he doesn't want to just deal straight up. Because if he got on a live call with me, I would be asking him who's checking his finances, who knows where the money's going, what happened to this, what happened to that, why did he ask for money for this, did this ever get done, and all of that. Why are people fornicating there? I'll be asking him, is it true that this person was fornicating there? And then he'll have to answer for it, and it'll be a complete mess. He won't have a ministry by the end of it. There will be no ministry if Doug Perry faces me live in a live contention. Because if Doug Perry wants to play this game, I have a right to bring out my perspective about him. He started this. He went up on his channel and told people I'm a legalist, made up all of his own opinions about me. And then he got basically aired out for manipulating people for money. And now he's offended. And when he told you last time that he lets God be his defender, he's been doing nothing but defending himself ever since for the last 2 weeks.
In contrast, we've had people that left here that have said horrible things, and you don't see me getting online tearing them up one side and down the other, making all kind of counterclaims and whatever stuff. I really try to just let the Lord handle it and let it diffuse.
Because he's a hypocrite, and he's a phony, and he's loaded with false humility, because when somebody really exposes the daylights out of him, he's going to get up there and give a defense for it. And me, I have no problem with that. Just don't sit there and act like you are some humble man that never defends yourself, Doug, when you've been doing nothing but defending yourself, and you are very mad that I put that video out because it's causing a lot of problems for you. And the problems aren't going to be over yet. Because if you think you're going to come on here and threaten me with libel and all these little terms you're trying to use to intimidate me, you are dealing with the wrong person, dude. If you keep poking me, eventually I will bite. I am not claiming to be Jesus Christ. You said in this video that you hit me with a Nerf gun and I brought in a nuke. Yeah, that's because I don't beat around the bush. And there's many other people on the internet that are subtly telling their disciples things about me, and it all gets back to me. And I know who's against me in YouTube land, and I know who's for me in YouTube land. And I got a whole list in my head of people that if they shoot a Nerf gun at me, they are going to get hit with a nuclear warhead. Because I'm sick of people's jealousy and all their garbage trying to destroy what God's doing through this place because they can't get the job done like we do. I'm sick of the jealousy. I'm sick. It's garbage. It's complete garbage. That's all this is, people. All this is people are jealous that when God told me to do something, I actually went out and did it. That's what they're jealous about. And when people actually call me and they needed prayer, I actually went and prayed when I was healthier, sometimes for 15, 20 people a day. And I grew my ministry the old-fashioned way by caring for people, loving people, ministering to people like that. I didn't grow my ministry by making merchandise of people and using them as a labor farm, Doug. Because I know you want to say I have no love, but who has more love? I want everyone in the body of Christ to tell me who has more love. The guy that brings people here, prays for them, counsels them, and gives them good doctrine, or the guy that brings people into his ministry and uses them as a slave labor farm for his own ends so he could make money. You tell me who has more love, because I know Doug Perry likes to cry a lot and tell people he loves them a lot. Guess what? Jesus Christ didn't show his love by walking around and telling people he loved them. In fact, he never went up to anyone and said, I love you. He didn't talk about love much. Yes, he is love. Yes, he's full of love. Yes, God the Father is love. But that's not how they love. They love by bringing truth. They love by rebuking. They love by praying for people. They love by self-sacrifice. Not by overly emotional, manipulative junk, Doug.
And you can go through it yourself. If you'd rather just read it, then listen to me read it to you. As I mentioned in the writing, I tried to do a couple of videos, and the Lord said they weren't right as He wanted them to be.
Well, right there, Doug, you don't hear God right. If you were doing videos and the Lord told you they were no good, you're demonized and you're operating in the flesh. And demons are speaking through you on those videos. So there you have it, everybody. Everyone that thinks his cup is full, he just admitted he got up on tape, did videos, was in the flesh, and God told him, don't put them up because that was not I who spoke through you. It was no good. So anyone who thinks his cup is full, that theory just went out the window right there.
So I felt like it would be better to write it out, and then we can have other people read it, give me counsel, correct things, and we did. Half a dozen or so elders here read through it and gave me suggestions, and we prayed about it, fasted, and trying to respond in the best, most positive, most loving, most Christ-like way possible. And so you'll excuse me if I'm not looking straight at you the whole time. I'm going to read this. And like I said, it's about 14, 15 pages. And then if you'd rather just read the actual document, it's available in the PDF in format down in the description for you to download. So here we go. A couple weeks ago on one of our live feed YouTube videos, someone asked what I thought about Chris Lasala. And I'll admit that it might have been better to just keep my mouth shut and not open up this can of worms.
Again, Doug is admitting that he did something he shouldn't have done. Therefore, all of this began because he wasn't listening to God, and he went and ran his mouth on his live stream. So, Doug, for all this happening, you could thank yourself. You could absolutely thank yourself. For a guy that says his cup is full of Jesus, you make a lot of mistakes, Doug. You speak according to the flesh a lot, Doug.
But I charitably described him as a Great Dane puppy that is young and full of energy and doesn't realize that his wagging tail knocks everything off the coffee table, and whatever he plays with seems to break. I described him as a bull in a china shop.
I'll tell you this, Doug. I'm very self-aware of the waves that I cause when I make waves. And when I make waves, I want to make waves. I'm not ignorant to it. I'm doing it on purpose. I'm not some dope and some ignoramus walking around trying to figure out, oh, is this hurting someone? Maybe it's not, but it really is. No, that's not me. When I come out against somebody, I go full throttle. Full throttle, because I'm not lukewarm. If someone takes a position against this ministry, I will take a firm position against them. I don't play Mr. False Humility, Humble Joe, like I can't answer back to people that criticize me. They told Jesus, you have a devil. What did Jesus say? I have not a devil. He defended himself. He answered for it. I don't sit up there like you and say that I'm not going to be my own defender at times. Yes, I'm going to let Christ defend me also. But there's a time where you are supposed to testify to your innocence. And Jesus Christ did that, Doug. And you're doing that here in the name of teaching, in the name that you were slandered when you weren't. I didn't say one lie about you in that video. So you trying to claim libel and all that, you're a joke. Sue me, Doug. Sue me if I'm slandering you. It's fine with me. We could do that if you want. You're not going to intimidate me with legal terminology and all that stuff. I have already set my life up where I'm ready to be sued. Anyone that's watching this, you can trust me. If you sue that online ministry, you're not going to get this property. If you sue me, you're not going to get anything. I promise you that. I was smart enough to know I was going to be sued at some point. And I spent the last 4 years making sure that that's never going to be a problem for me. So, Doug, cut the garbage. You're only making this worse for yourself. You only look like you're defending yourself. You only look like you've been really damaged by the truth that I put out. That you're basically taking everyone's money to go play with some chickens out there. Then later, well, I'll let you get to this point. I'm going to let it keep going.
And I mentioned that the pulpit he built in his chapel consists of 2 unfinished pyramids with a giant eye supported by them. I believe that this to be either a subconscious statement of his being the center of the universe in his own heart, or God revealing to others what is really going on. There's the picture of his beautiful logo, backlit with his beautiful chapel with 2 unfinished pyramids upholding a giant eye. Every time he preaches, standing behind this pulpit, people have to look at a big giant eye. I'm sorry. I'm going to try not to deviate from the text here.
Right here, this is Doug Perry's manipulation tactic to get you to think I'm a member of the Illuminati. So everything he says after this, you already have reasonable doubt about me that I could be some witch and some Satanist. But let's really think about what he said. He said, I have a pulpit built out of 2 pyramids with a giant eye on top of it. Now I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to bring you all out there, and I want you to tell me if I have a pulpit with 2 pyramids and a giant eye. We're going to take a look at it right now. Now, does this look like pyramids to anyone? Does that look like a pyramid to anyone? Do those look like pyramids? Now, yes, if someone's standing from the front, the base looks somewhat like a pyramid from the front, but they have no top on them. A pyramid comes to a single top. Does that look like an I? Or is that a D? Because it doesn't look like an I to me. Does that look like an I to anyone? Please tell me, is that the letter D or is that an I? Please put your comments below. Please tell me if those look like pyramids. Please tell me if that looks like a pyramid. Someone, please tell me if that looks like a pyramid. Now that I've showed you the pulpit, because Doug Perry only has a picture from the front, so he thinks he's looking at pyramids. But what he doesn't know is they're not pyramids. Let's look at what a pyramid is, everybody. It is a structure whose outer surfaces are triangular and converge into a single step at the top, making the shape roughly a pyramid in the geometric sense. Well, all of the sides of those objects are not triangular, Doug. The sides of them are shaped like a rectangle. And they do not come to a single thing on the top. Yes, you will say that you're calling them unfinished pyramids, but they're not. It would need to be all triangular shapes around the sides for them to be a pyramid, Doug. What they are is they're tapered columns. So you trying to be jealous of our pulpit because you are buried in a bunch of junk over there, you being jealous because I actually know how to build things, Doug, and I make nice things, that's not going to make you look any better in this thing. And especially when you sit there and you act like I spent tons of money on this stuff when I went through all the bills to build this building, and I built this entire building for cheaper than most people would build like a 2-bedroom condo because I did the work myself. I'm not wasting a bunch of money on this stuff. In fact, we wouldn't even have this stuff if I didn't know how to build it because it would cost a fortune to pay someone else to do it. And most of the money goes into the labor. Other than that, I spent about $500 on material in the cedar wood for that pulpit. So that pulpit cost our ministry about $700 or something like that. It would have cost someone else about $10,000 to get something like that because I do the labor myself while I wait here and meet people. I do work around the place, Doug. I know you want to keep making it like, oh, I use all these huge amounts of money to build myself an ivory tower and all this nice stuff. I did all this stuff behind me here. I did it myself with my own hands. Everything here, I did it with my own hands, and the other people that did it with their hands, I had to tell them what to do. They wouldn't do a good job, and I had to watch over them while they helped. And it was more of a burden for me to babysit them than to actually just pick the stuff up and do it myself. So for those of you who want to say, yeah, you force all the other people to do this stuff, no. The only people that worked on the church were supposed to be partners. They failed to do the right thing. They did not have a heart for ministry. They were not team players. They wanted to have it all. They wanted to goof off, with the exception of a few. But for the most part, everything here, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into it, and we got maximum dollar out of it, Doug. Not like you who went and bought a $10,000 hammer mill that you want to make it like I waste money, and you went and bought a bunch of sheep and goats and a tractor, and it has no value to the body of Christ whatsoever. If someone comes and visits you, what value does that tractor have to them? What value does that hammer mill have to them? If someone comes here, they have a nice building to come in. They'll remember the experience of coming here. God is glorified. There's a nice place here for his people to gather. You act like I built this for me. I don't even come in here. I don't even really like to preach from behind the pulpit. I just do it because I haven't found someone else that could do it better yet. People said all the time that I was building this building. Even the other guy that took off and was like, Chris idolizes his church. Well, what do I idolize now that it's done? Praying for people in it? Preaching in it? Meeting people in it? Now what? Now what do I do with it? Now I got to serve people in it for all the days of my life, right? So am I still idolizing it? Am I still sitting here focusing on building all the doors? You guys are so dopey that you don't realize that when you're building a building, you have to put all your attention into that building. That's what builders do. You novices that don't know how to build anything and you're not in the building business, you don't know what it is to put your blood, sweat, and tears into something. So everything is an idol to you so you could try and sway the minds of the people. Now, I've proven beyond any doubt that my pulpit is not made out of pyramids. There are 2 square sides on each of those pillars. The other 2 sides are tapered. That was not to make them look like a pyramid or exalt myself as the Antichrist. That was to make a much more impressive design for the pulpit, because if I'm designing the pulpit and I can make it however I want, I'm going to make it nicer rather than more simple. In fact, we talked about it amongst many people here, and we discussed making it differently, and everyone agreed on that model. So we went with that model. So I'd like you to know that Doug Perry is trying to use the fact that I built pyramids in my church to make himself seem right when he's not right. For the record, that is manipulation of the highest order, Doug, and it's pathetic. And it's because you can't defend anything you're doing. I saw you run your live stream when people were asking you, Did the barn get done, Doug? Did this get done? Did that get done? And you and your wife just made excuses and looked frustrated because you know that everything you set out to do is a joke, Doug. And we have yet to see you produce anything of any level that's of any glorification to God whatsoever. We have yet to see anything come out of your ministry. You've made all these big claims that there's going to be revival and liberty. You talk about all accurate prophecies you made in this video.
I've prophesied many things that came true.
You prophesied that there would be revival in Liberty, Missouri through your ministry. Let's see that happen, Doug. Mr. Great Prophet, Mr. Man of God that hears God so well. Let's see that happen.
There's no question that his chapel is beautiful. He built it with his own hands, and he's a craftsman. And he wanted it to show just what a craftsman he is. And he thinks we here at FOTM live in a trash dump. And all I see at his place is a paneled house with the best of everything, brand new and shiny, in yet another church building that we didn't need, that doesn't feed the hungry or care for the homeless, but puts on a good show.
Okay, Doug, that's not what this ministry project is about. I fed the hungry. I cared for the homeless at a different phase of my ministry. This phase of my ministry is not about being a homeless shelter, and nor does it need to be. We don't all need to make a homeless shelter, Doug. I am not against feeding the homeless like you try and make it out in this video to manipulate people. I am all for feeding the homeless, but I'm not for babysitting people that are in willful rebellion like you are. You call a homeless shelter aiding and abetting sinners. That's what a homeless shelter is to you, where there's no discernment to throw anybody out, like the Bible says, Doug. After the first and second admonition, reject, Doug, like the Bible says. Not like you run it where you let them stay there the whole time. So you could try and make it like I'm this evil man that's against feeding the homeless all you want, but you just look like a big manipulator, Doug. Not only that, but over here you said you see a big shiny house. Don't mix up house and church now, because now people are going to get confused. You act like I sit here in wealth when me and my family of 7 live in a 1-bedroom cabin, Doug. I'll say that again. Me and my family of 7 live in a 1-bedroom cabin. Now, I've been spending the last year and a half building bedrooms for my children and a little play area for them, so me and my wife are not sleeping in one bed with 4 kids. A king-size bed with 4 kids. Well, 3. Let's say 3, to be honest. So now there's 5 people in one king-size bed, and you're acting over here like I live in wealth. No, Doug, the truth of the matter is I took my money and I put it into this church, and I didn't have much. I actually lived poor myself and my children and my wife, so the people of God could have a place to gather. Then you say in this video, we don't need more church buildings. You're absolutely wrong. We need more church buildings that are preaching a true doctrine and are not tied in with denominations. So you are a liar right there. No, we don't need more Roman Catholic church buildings. But again, you are a manipulator telling people, we didn't need what Chris did. Oh, yes, we absolutely did. Go tell the people who come to your conferences that are literally sitting out in the woods, Doug, if we need a building to hang out in. Go tell them that. Because yes, we do need a roof over our heads, and I need way more than this building to take in guests over the weekend. I need a place for everyone to go in and eat, and I need a place for a few people to sleep, because if it's raining, I have a big problem. So yes, we do need all those things, Doug, and they are valid reasons to collect donations. Nothing like what you do, Doug. Building ponds that don't hold water, lying to people, saying you're going to build a barn, and then when people call you out on it, you were like, oh, there's never a real plan to build that barn. There was never a real plan. It was just a joke.
The busted up barn is at least 80, 90 years old. Was on the property before we got here, was falling in, and we've used some of the wood for other projects, but there was never any serious plan to try to get it to stand up straight and rebuild it. I don't know. Guys, it's Uncle Doug. We're out at the farm today. It's the 8th of February, I think. And we're got a little crew out here working to get this old corral cleaned up. But there was never any serious plan to try to get it to stand up straight and rebuild it. I don't know. Sorry about that. The phone ran out. Anyway, I think this wall over here is fairly square and stable. We'll sister board some 2x4s across there. But there was never any serious plan to try to get it to stand up straight and rebuild it. I don't know. And that wall needs a little straightening and leaning this way, but there's a tree right behind it, so it can't fall over. But there was never any serious plan to try to get it to stand up straight and rebuild it. I don't know. So I think probably what we need to do is take the roof off, straighten the walls, build a new roof. But there was never any serious plan to try to get it to stand up straight and rebuild it. I don't know. Straighten the walls, build a new roof, put tin on it, and have a decent shelter. There might be a way to prop this up, but there was never any serious plan to try to get it to stand up straight and rebuild it. I don't know. We can reuse on the walls, like right there where there's a hole and stuff. But anyway, it's all expensive. Anyway, it's all expensive. Anyway, it's all expensive.
So we should take every video you say, Doug, as just a joke. That you're just making it up, all these plans you have. When really it was never a joke, but you wanted to manipulate people for money, to get money to build that barn.
Anyway, it's all expensive.
Now when you never built the barn, you're saying, oh, there was never a real plan to build the barn.
To me, it's just another pastor with another flock, not willing to seek unity with the body, and insisting theirs is the only right and true way. I can't imagine a scenario where I preach in front of a fancy, expensive, custom backlit ministry logo for FOTM. I would rather have humble surroundings and spend the money on the poor, which Chris mocks fiercely.
Please show us, Doug, where I mocked people who feed the poor. Please show us that. Because I don't mock that. I'm all about feeding the poor. That's just not my calling right now. But if that's someone's calling, that's fine with me. You literally just lied straight through your teeth that I'm against feeding the poor. But that's what you have to do to make it seem like I'm this evil man that has no compassion. Let's keep listening.
After our live video, in less than 24 hours, Chris had recorded and edited a horrible, dishonest, 2-hour hit piece video about me in this ministry. I've been praying about how to respond. Some folks said, leave it alone. He said in the comments that he'd responded and said, now let there be peace. But there can't be peace when this video filled with very harmful lies just sits out there, deceiving the little ones that don't have enough discernment to see through it.
For the record, Doug Perry has not proven one thing that I said in that video was a lie. I stated he manipulated me for $2,000 and asked me if the Lord was telling me to give him $2,000. I stated that people do drugs and fornicate there when I was there, and from what I've heard, even after I was there, and probably even up until this day, I'm not sure. I stated that Doug Perry uses the body of Christ as slave labor, and he's all about building his own kingdom. That has nothing to do with ministry. Not like here where I'm building a church so everyone that visits can walk into. He's doing his hobbies, farming, all of that. I accused him of lying and saying a bunch of times that he was going to do a bunch of things, like use the frame of a trailer for an amphitheater, use PVC igloos as a homeless shelter, dig a pond. All of that came to nothing, every single bit of it. At what point, Doug, in that video did I lie? Please do tell us. And over here, you're going to try and tell us, and you're going to be manipulative with that also.
I know the accuser of the brethren when I see his handiwork, and you probably shouldn't just let the snake have the last word.
Well, Doug, that's against your own doctrine, Mr. False Humility. You just said you shouldn't let the snake have the last word, calling me the snake. You always boast that you're supposed to let God be your defender, but you've been doing nothing but defending yourself, Doug, ever since I exposed you on the internet.
I know the accuser of the brethren when I see his handiwork, and you probably shouldn't just let the snake have the last word.
In contrast, we've had people that left here that have said horrible things, and you don't see me getting online, tearing them up one side and down the other, making all kind of counterclaims and whatever stuff. I really try to just let the Lord handle it and let it diffuse.
I know the accuser of the brethren when I see his handiwork, and you probably shouldn't just let the snake have the last word.
In contrast, we've had people that left here that have said horrible things, and you don't see me getting online, tearing them up one side and down the other, making all kind of counterclaims and whatever stuff. I really try to just let the Lord handle it and let it diffuse.
And you probably shouldn't just let the snake have the last word.
I really try to just let the Lord handle it and let it diffuse.
And you probably shouldn't just let the snake have the last word.
I really try to just let the Lord handle it and let it diffuse.
You've been nothing but coming up there, trying to justify everything, explain it away, and you've done a bad job at it. Because your only way to explain the accusations I brought against you is this. Chris has no love. He's rough around the edges. He's got no love, according to me. And now you even go on to say I'm just a child of the devil, just to manipulate people even more. Because anybody that comes against Doug Perry can't go to heaven, because Doug Perry's God. Doug Perry could never be wrong. Doug Perry never admits fault. Notice when Doug Perry said that I could use more love, I said, oh, you better believe I could. And I also said everybody could, including Doug himself. None of us are perfected in love, people. None of us love like Jesus Christ loved. Trust me. We all have that flesh. We all have that wicked flesh. So Doug saying I need more love, yeah. You're saying something to people that I've been admitting for the last 7 years, and God's been growing me in love. He's been growing me in love big time. I probably would have went over there and lit your trailer on fire 7 years ago if you pissed me off. I'm doing a lot better now. I don't lash back at people. The only way I'm lashing back at you is with the truth, Doug. And the reason you consider it an attack is because it is true and causing a lot of problems for you, and people are waking up to your lies. So don't bring that slander stuff over here, Doug. Everyone knows that I was telling the truth. You can't prove that one thing that I said in that video was a lie, not one.
Plus, Chris is in real spiritual danger. I've truly been shocked by how horribly ugly Chris was in the video. The exaggeration, the photoshopping, manipulative editing, judging in the flesh, name-calling, and worse is a really bad sign.
Please show me some manipulative editing that I did in that video. What I did was I played what you said, and I told people the truth of the matter of what you're doing. Please someone show me in the video I did about Doug where there was photoshopping inside of the video. Doug, if you're talking about the thumbnail, you've now put me in the class of every YouTuber on YouTube except for you, who's too lazy to put out a quality product for people. If you're talking about the thumbnail, yeah, we photoshopped the thumbnail. So does 99.9% of YouTubers. The thumbnail is supposed to portray the message in the video. Doug wants to manipulate you. This guy's one of the biggest manipulators I've ever seen at this point. He wants to manipulate you and make you believe that I photoshopped the videos that I was critiquing in the video, or the content of the video, or I was deceptive in some way about how I presented the video. No, I wasn't. What I was doing, and he also said that I did it in a day. People, you better believe what you saw in that video was me pouring out my frustrations over this guy's ministry that I've been holding within myself for 7 years. And the devil, you had him go up and throw a stone over here. And then the Lord told me, okay, Chris, now you can do what you've been thinking about doing for a long time and expose what this guy's been doing. Doug wants to act like he made that video about me, and I went through all his videos finding how to conspire and make this video. No, I knew where to go to get all the clips in that video because I've been watching Doug Perry, and I've been keeping track of everything he claims he's going to do, every way he's been using the brethren as a labor force. I've been watching to see if what he's doing ever actually comes to pass, and none of it ever does.
From the very beginning, he was quick to tell me what was wrong with our ministry and how he thought it should go.
I had been noticing what Doug was doing for years. Years. You can't possibly make a video like that in a day or two. And that's what he's bugged out about. He can't believe how thorough that video was. The video was thorough because you need to be held accountable, Doug Perry. Stop making it to people like I did this big hit piece on you, and answer for the things I'm talking about. Answer for them. Stop saying, Chris Lasala is this. Chris Lasala is this. Chris's church is this. There's nice paneling on Chris's church. It's so ridiculous. Doug, you just sound like a jealous baby, really. You really do.
Our conversations tended to be mostly about what he thought I was doing wrong. I learned early on not to make any effort to suggest to him what he might be doing wrong, because it just wasn't worth the fight.
And you heeded none of it? And you even admitted in this video that you never corrected me in private because you thought that it wouldn't go well. But then you admit you did it in public and you never should have done that. So for the record, everyone, in this video, Doug Perry admits all my concerns about him, I was bringing them to him over the phone. And in this video, he admits he never brought any of his concerns to me in private. So what happened here is Doug Perry went out without calling me and publicly called me a legalist, publicly said I went off sideways, and publicly said that he doesn't send people here. And he never brought any of those concerns to me in private.
Our conversations tended to be mostly about what he thought I was doing wrong. I learned early on not to make any effort to suggest to him what he might be doing wrong, because it just wasn't worth the fight.
So there you have it. Who's more biblical? Me, who everything I told you in the video I made about him, I brought that to him in private. Not everything, but the basic storyline. I told him, Doug, you're wasting people's time. Doug, you're lying to people. You can't build anything on that property and you're asking them for money. Doug, you're doing this. Doug, you're doing that. And he says he didn't do any of that with me, but he got on YouTube and went and did it. So you guys tell me who deals more straight up, me or Doug Perry. Because Doug Perry wants to play this passive-aggressive false humility junk. That doesn't work with me. And like I said before, there's a lot of people on YouTube that are running their mouth about me. And they don't know I know about it. In diverse ministries on YouTube, you better believe I know about it. Because when people hear about you saying anything about me, anything about my doctrine, anything about my beliefs about casting out demons, you better believe even if they're acting like they're your disciple, they're going to run back and tell me. Because at the end of the day, people respect the true ministry that's putting in the real work and bearing the good fruit. At the end of the day, people are going to come to me and say, this is what he's saying about you. And I may be holding that within myself for 7 years, 5 years. And there are some people out there that are going to come against me on YouTube. And you're going to notice within a day or two, like Doug Perry noticed, within a day or two, I can completely come out and level all the deception that you're pulling. Because it's been there. It's been there the whole time. It's not because I went and I just figured it out yesterday, people. Don't be deceived by Doug Perry, who wants to make it seem like I'm some flying off at the handle maniac that got one little thing from him, and then I went out and said all this other stuff. No, it's not like that.
On another occasion, he visited in a new Mercedes Sprinter van that he was traveling around in. He mostly kept to himself, but was busy with the deliverance of a young lady while they were here. At least once, the police were called by the neighbors at night because of the screaming coming out of the van from her deliverance sessions. He had a run-in with one of the residents at our homeless shelter who threw something at his van, causing no damage. But Chris was quick to tell me to throw the man out and that there was no hope for his soul. I was clear all along that Chris didn't have the temperament to deal lovingly with the rough kind of people that we housed and cared for regularly.
The second part of what he just said is a lie. I never said there's no hope for that guy's soul. I told you to throw him out, Doug. That's what you do to people that act reprobate and start fights with people that are visiting you from out of state, Doug. You don't allow violent people that are willing to stab people and assault people at your ministry when you got international visitors. Tell me this, everyone on YouTube. How would you like to come here and visit BDS and someone comes out of a cabin over here, kicks your door in, and is threatening to fight you and is throwing stuff at your car? Would you want me to throw them out? Because this manipulating deceiver right here is making it like I'm unreasonable to ask him to throw that guy out of the fellowship because he's starting to try to assault people. That's what this guy calls love. You leave a guy that assaults people in the fellowship. And Doug, if you thought I was unloving to tell you to throw the guy out, why did you throw the guy out? I'll tell you why you threw him out, to show off to me. Because I gave you $2,000. So if you think it was so bad to throw him out, why'd you come up to me and say, we got rid of him, Chris, don't worry. Now could we go buy all the dumpsters that I need, Chris? Now could I have your credit card to go buy those dumpsters?
I need 40-foot, 20-foot shipping containers, whatever I can get.
Because after you leave, I'm going to invite this maniac back in after you give me the money that I want from you. So as dopey, Doug, your arguments are a joke. You look so foolish right now, Doug, to anyone that understands what I'm saying. Let me repeat what I'm saying. Right in this video, Doug Perry's accusing me of being insensitive and asking him to throw a guy out because the guy tried to throw something at my car and fist fight me. in the parking lot at his ministry. Now, he's saying I'm unloving, but when I went to him, when he wanted $2,000 from me and said, you need to get this guy out of here, he's going to hurt someone, he made the guy leave and put on a show to me that he got rid of the guy. Go figure. Go figure. All of a sudden, Doug is in agreement when he's going to get some money. That's funny, Doug. That's real pathetic, too. It just proves that you're fake. It just proves that everything that you say on this YouTube is to make you look good and everybody else look bad.
It was clear to me that he was zealous for the Lord, but also very, very sure of himself.
Oh, you better believe I'm very sure of myself, Doug. Jesus Christ sent me into ministry. I don't question what I'm called to do. I'm not like you making videos and then saying, I made the video and the Lord told me it was no good. No, when I get up there, I'm sure of myself. I do what the Lord leads me to do. I follow what I believe He tells me to do, and I carry it out to a T. I don't second guess everything like you. I don't need to make a video and then sit back and pray about it and pray about it and pray about it. I don't even go and get up and make the video unless the Lord leads me to. I don't need to play this little game with God where like, oh, I'm going to go do something you don't want me to do and then I'll pray to you later. No, I check with Him before I do something. That's how it's supposed to be done, Doug, not like you're doing it, where you got to make these videos where you can't face me live. What a joke.
We prayed for him a lot. A number of people came to us over the years that had visited his ministry, and most of them had been thrown out, banned from calling, or in some other way hurt.
No, they weren't hurt. They were disrespectful, they were disobedient, and they were thrown out. And the reason that they all end up at your ministry is because they want to bum around and they want to flop house, like I said in the last video. In fact, I would say that this is a crazy ratio, people. I would say out of the 5 people that I've like permanently banned from BDS, 2 or 3 of them ended up visiting Doug Perry's ministry afterwards. 2 or 3 of them ended up there. All of a sudden, they found him. And you know what? They were able to stay there sometimes for a year and a half, 6 months, whatever. They're welcome there. People that I throw out that are not even fit to stay here, He receives them with open arms. I guess I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm just not loving enough. I'll tell you what. It's either I'm not loving enough or Doug Perry has no discernment and is running a clown show of misfits over there. One or the other. And like Doug says, we're going to find out on the last day which one is true. We are going to find out.
Chris is building his altar. I'm building my altar. We'll see which catches fire first. And we'll see which one of us was just dancing around looking busy and really getting nowhere. But I pray Chris would see the truth of my words and repent. And quickly, before it's too late. Eventually, he bought land in Corsicana, Texas, and began building his home and chapel. I was grieved when he made it clear that it was not to be any kind of intentional community or to house people, but simply to be a place for his house, maybe a couple of helpers, and for the chapel that people could visit on days when they had deliverance services.
So, Doug, you were mad that I wasn't going to sit out here and build some cottages for drunks and fornicators, because that's your ministry model. You got to be kidding me, Doug. This is what this place is for. I bought 8 acres. I took 2 to myself to keep my family on, and some of my personal brethren at the time that were helping me. And I'm supposed to build a church here, and I'm going to build a visitor center where we could fellowship and eat food in over here. It's supposed to be a place for people to come for a couple days, get blessed, and leave. We are not supposed to be housing reprobate people, Doug. That is not what Jesus Christ did. Jesus didn't do any of that. But after Jesus left, people that were within His church, they met in synagogues, they gathered in buildings, they had places where they could have a roof over people's head. Not your ministry model. Your ministry model never happened in the history of the church before Doug Perry. Never. No one ever made a place for willful sinners to stay while they're continuing in their sin other than Doug Perry. Nobody.
Then we watched more people getting hurt, leaving, and watched Chris smash them for betraying and turning on him. Twice, I unknowingly baptized someone that he had previously baptized.
If you call me calling them stupid for coming over here and making lies about me, and they were lies. Anybody that ever said I made videos for money lied. Anybody that ever said that I told them to get a divorce lied. Blatant, straight out lie. Not like my video against you where everything was the truth and you can't refute it at all. And everyone that was there knows it's the truth. And all the comments under my video all agree of anyone that ever lived at your place that everything I said was true. Not like that. It's different. It's like this. When the people that made these accusations about me left, everybody that was here knew they were false. They knew they were false, with the exception of a few, which I admitted directly in the video. Now, you people on YouTube, you want to always act like Chris is not perfectly humble. Chris has pride. Chris doesn't have love. I've admitted all my sins to people from the beginning. You people you're not telling me anything I don't know about myself. There's nothing you know about me, Doug, that I don't know about myself, but there's a lot people could see about you that you don't seem to be able to see about yourself. You say I'm self-righteous. I'm the one that admits that I have demons. You're self-righteous, Doug. You think you're perfect. You think there's nothing evil in you.
Is it in your body? Physically? No, I don't think I have any demons physically inside of my body at the moment.
I don't have a theological problem with someone feeling that they're in a new place with God and feel a need to be rebaptized. The first time when I baptized Braden, Chris called angrily, insisting that the Bible said I was not to do that. I asked him for a reference, and he quoted Ephesians 4:4-6. There is one body and one spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. Quote. I laughed and assured him that passage is not a biblical instruction on when or how to do baptisms. It can't be used that way. It is a statement about our common faith, not instruction on how the church should administer sacraments. I was clear at the time that he couldn't rightly divide the scriptures and was prone to cherry pick whatever to suit his purposes, regardless of the context. That's eisegesis.
Like I said in the last video, that never happened, and I brought up the Bible verse that I used, and Doug did not address that verse in this video because he can't address that verse in this video. The one that you don't relay the foundation of teachings on baptisms, all of that stuff. Doug can't address those scriptures, and that's why he doesn't address those scriptures. So that's a manipulation right there. In my last video, I gave you the scripture that I told Doug about. He never addressed it publicly. He can't. It's impossible.
It seems like about a year or so later, I baptized Dylan. I did remember that he'd been to Corsicana, but I don't believe that I ever knew that Chris had baptized him. We were at the river one day to baptize several people, and at the last minute, he asked to be baptized. I didn't have much time to talk to him, but had known him to be serious for the Lord and didn't think about it. I put the baptism video online, and I got a call from Chris shortly thereafter. He was fuming mad that I had done it again. It seemed as if he was offended that maybe Dylan had felt that his baptism by Chris wasn't legitimate or that it didn't take.
No, it wasn't because I was offended that my baptism didn't take. It was because I was mad because I directly called you and told you I'm not happy about you doing that, and you went and did it again anyway. And that's not how people that are supposed to be friends treat each other, Doug. You're supposed to respect other ministers. You're supposed to respect their baptism. You're supposed to respect the fact that people came to you from other ministries and acknowledge what they've been through at those ministries. That's what you're supposed to do. It had nothing to do with me taking offense myself for my ego, like you're trying to make it out to be. So you paint your own picture, Doug. You make your own straw men up as you go.
Chris demanded that I take down the video of his own baptism here. I tried to speak calmly and reconcile the situation. I said, do you think it's reasonable that before I baptize anyone, I should ask them if they've been baptized by your ministry? He said, quote, if you're such an idiot that, end quote. Right there I saw where it was going and interrupted him and said, okay, no problem. I'll take your baptism video down. I didn't like where it was going, and I didn't want strife. Again, for the sake of peace, I took the video down. Chris likes to say that he has held his tongue about me for 7 years, but that's not really true at all. while he may not have done a video previously, there are plenty of people that I've talked to that have been told by Chris all about his complaints about this ministry.
Here's more manipulation by Doug saying that I said I held my tongue about him, but that's not true, insinuating I lied. No, I never said I held my tongue about you in private, Doug, or to people at this ministry. I said I refrained from exposing you on the internet. That's what I meant. We all know what I meant when I said I held my tongue about you. Obviously, I wouldn't say I held my tongue about you in general, because in this video, you yourself confess that every time I was around you, I was rebuking you for the way you run ministry. So why would I come up and say I've held my tongue about Doug in every sense for the last 7 years? No. We all know very well that I've told people directly at your ministry that the way you run your ministry is a joke. And they agreed with me, and they had no answers for it either. They couldn't say anything. You know what they did? They said what your pre-planned stuff. You get angry too much, Chris. You got no love in you, blah, 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 whoop-de-doo. I don't care about what you people think about my character. All I care about is that when people send tithes to this church, I use them righteously, and when people come to this church, I bless them to the best of my ability, I pray for them, and I send them home better than they were when they got here. And at your ministry, when people get to your ministry, they come in like bums, and most of them leave like bums. And that's just a fact. And we see the fruit of that. Everyone on the internet could see the fruit of that, Doug. You got one guy over there that's over and talking to me like he's my authority, and I challenged him to face me, ran away, and he's sitting in a cabin all day, shoveling food in his mouth. He weighs about 450 pounds. He's morbidly obese, and you aren't even getting him together, getting his life together. You're letting him sit there, eat himself to death. He's probably not even going to live another 10 years the way he's going. You're supposed to love people, Doug Perry? You love people so much that you use them as slave labor. I may come here and I may give someone a harsh rebuke, but I love them. I want them to have a job, a family. I want them to grow in Jesus Christ. You want to keep people bums forever, Doug. That's not love. You want to have a garbage heap. That's not love. The people that come here to come to this church, I love them so much to have a clean, safe place for them to come to. You don't love them like that, Doug. When I came there, you had a dump. There wasn't even toilet paper in the bathrooms because everyone's so drugged out and stealing everything that every time there was toilet paper, someone would steal a roll because they were so poor they couldn't buy their own toilet paper. So when I would go in the bathroom, there'd be no toilet paper. There were drunks, maniacs, drug addicts, fornicators, all of that over there. So you're telling me I don't love people? I love people enough to make sure they never encounter something like I encountered at your ministry. And I'm glad I went to your ministry because I learned how to love people even more, Doug. I learned how you don't love people and how I do love people. And you love people so much that you asked for $10,000 to build a hammer mill, use people's money on a tractor, and did nothing with it, Doug. I wonder who has more love for people and who uses money more wisely. And you claim you're feeding the poor, Doug? What the stuff you feed the poor with, Doug, you get for free. You don't take a dollar out of your pocket to feed the poor. Let's go see you take a bunch of your cash, Doug. Go take a few $1,000s of your money, Doug, and go do something for somebody else. Stop asking everybody else to give you money and take your own money. But wait, you don't have any money because you've been sitting around like an immature little baby living off the body of Christ for the last, 10 years?
I'm shocked and astounded that Chris sets himself out as a leader, calls people to holiness, pounds on and on about sin, and then needs someone to point out verses to him about why he should not have done a hateful, mocking, retaliatory, lie-filled mini-documentary about our ministry.
Prove that I lied, Doug. Be my guest. Prove that I lied in that video. Show us a building that people could walk into that has electric, Doug. I'm not talking about shacks and caves, Doug. We all know what I was talking about when I said there's never going to be a building on that property. I was saying you're never going to build a building on that property. You know exactly what I meant when I said there was never going to be a building on that property. I don't mean a bunch of a ripped down barn and a cave that bats dwell in. I mean a place that's suitable for visitors in the 21st century, Doug. Please. We're not living in the ancient times anymore. People don't live in there's no cavemen, Doug. I want to see a building, and we want to see that you did what you said you were going to do with that money. You said in this video that you're confident that you could take my property and sue me for libel. Well, you were confident that the town would approve your proposal to build on that property, and that never happened. And I'm confident you can't do anything to me and sue me for libel. I'm allowed to give my opinion on you. There's nothing illegal about what I did. You're just playing the victim. You can fool everybody else. You can't fool me. I know you can. You don't have the money to sue me, Doug, and I know that too. Nobody that has funds would be fiddling with the garbage that you're fiddling with. Nobody. And if you do sue me, I will lawyer up, and I will drag the case out so long, and I will play all kinds of games and make sure that you spend as much money as possible before you lose that lawsuit. So you can try and sue me all you want. I want you to do it, because that's just going to prove exactly that you're not the person that you claim you are, that you do defend yourself, that you do take offense, that when someone gets you and someone exposes you real good, you are going to come out and defend yourself. You've proven everything you've said you're not, Doug, and I hope everybody could see it. And you don't have a leg to stand on.
That statement alone of his has really forced me to rethink my position on his spiritual condition. And it seems to be a challenge to him. It seems to be a challenge to show him some scriptures that he must not realize are in the Bible. I did not urge him to stop calling people morons and be more loving because he had personally hurt me. It was not retaliation for anything or some preemptive strike because of some offense with him. It was truly out of concern for his soul and because people looked to him to be like Jesus, and calling people names and smashing them with ad hominem attacks is not like Jesus.
Yeah, Doug, in the video I made about you exposing that you manipulate people for money and that everything you do comes to nothing, that video I made about you was to let you know you're under a delusion loaded with pride. You have delusions of grandeur. You think you're somebody you're not. You think you're the end-all be-all of Christianity. You're not. You think all these things while your ministry's coming to nothing, and you're taking other people's money to make all this happen so you could feel like some kind of sense of you've accomplished something on this earth or something. And I put that out because I love the people that are giving you that money. And I think that they should know the truth, and somebody should explain to them that everything you've ever done with that money, what is it? What did you do with it, Doug? You have not been able to answer that. You did not answer that in this video. You don't want to talk about that. And neither will I talk much about all these scriptures you're bringing up about love, because you're not bringing all the scriptures up about rebuke, about Jesus being aggressive with people, about Jesus saying, how long shall I bear you? How long shall I suffer you? You're not bringing up the verses where Paul turned people over to the devil, like I did to the people that I threw out of here that ended up at your ministry. You're not bringing up all those scriptures, Doug. So you're bringing up Bible verses that are out of balance. Because if you want to see teachings I do about love, you can see teachings on the internet that I do about love. I will put the links in the description box of the teachings that I did about the love of God and how we should love other people and how if we don't have love, we're nothing. So you claiming that the video I made about you needed to have love is irrelevant to me, because the video I made about you wasn't designed to show my loving nature. It was designed to rebuke the living daylights out of you and put an end to your manipulation. So the fact that you didn't see love in it, good. I don't care. You can see love in me in other videos when I'm in a better mood, when I'm not dealing with somebody that are making merchandise of God's sheep. When people were making merchandise of God's sheep in the Bible, Jesus picked up a whip in context, Doug. And later in this video, you say, Chris is going to use the whip excuse to the fact that he rebuked me. Well, guess what? In context, the whip situation happened when people were buying and selling in God's house, Doug. Now, you've decided to monetize this video that you've made against me, Doug. You've accused me of having a deliverance business. Notice I don't monetize and partner with YouTube like you do, so you can make your little 2 cents. Notice I don't sell my disciples soda out of a soda machine. I would like you to comment on that. That you're literally charging all your disciples $1 for soda while you give food to the poor, Doug. Why don't you explain all of that to all of us? Why don't you explain to us why you're selling t-shirts under the video that you made correcting me, Doug, when I'm not selling any books or t-shirts? Why don't you explain to us why you're plugging your Red Dragon book in this video when I don't sell any books to anybody? Why don't you explain that to us, Doug? Sounds like you're found wanting in all these areas. And I don't pull any of this junk with the body of Christ. I don't merchandise the body of Christ like you do, Doug. I don't need to sell a t-shirt or a hat. I don't need to put BDS on a t-shirt. I don't need to put my own thing on a t-shirt. What a joke. You say I want to exalt myself? You say I want to exalt myself. I think it's the exact opposite, buddy. I think the evidence points that you exalt yourself, and you claim all of a sudden you just inject the fact that God didn't lead me to make that video about you. Who said he didn't, Doug? You? Who said God didn't lead me to make that video? He absolutely led me to make it. And it's going to do its purpose. You know why it's going to do its purpose? Because God sent me to make it. You know your video about me, it's not going to do any purpose. It's not going to accomplish your purpose. Because you're trying to make minor character judgments about me. You're trying to make judgments and claim that I always need to appear loving to people. No, I don't need to appear loving. I always need to love people. That's all I have to do. I can appear harsh. I can rebuke the daylights out of people. As long as I go to bed at the end of the night and I know that I love people, it doesn't matter what you, Doug Perry, say about me. It has no bearing on me whatsoever. I'm very firm in my position with God and how much I love people. And you saying this doesn't make me even question it in the least. The problem is everybody sees what I'm saying about you, Doug. Everybody.
Psalm 141:5 says, if a righteous man strike me, it is oil on my head will not refuse it. Proverbs 9:8 says, do not correct a scoffer, lest he hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. End quote. Right there is where I went wrong, thinking Chris was a wise man or a righteous man instead of a scoffer.
There you go again. You're calling me a swine now. I guess you don't hear God again, Doug, because you just cast your pearls before what you call a swine. So in this video, if someone smart watches this video, you've sunk yourself again in this video. You sink yourself over and over again in these videos, Doug. You would not do well in a debate. I could tell. You are so double-tongued and hypocritical. You would do so bad in a debate. Do yourself a favor. Never get involved in a debate.
I don't trust his judgment at all and don't care at all about his carnal criticisms.
Well, if that was true, you wouldn't be on here defending yourself, Doug. Would you? We all care when people we know hurt us, Doug. All of us, me included. The only difference between me and you is I don't sit up here and act like some impervious man that you can't offend me because I'm so Christ-like and dead to self. Now, I believe I have come a long way in that department, don't get me wrong. But you sit up here acting like Jesus Christ while all you do is defend yourself. You're a hypocrite. At least I'm real about who I am. At least I'm real about who I am. I'm not a phony like a lot of people on YouTube. And that's why people don't want to mess around with this ministry. There's people that hate me that wouldn't face me on YouTube. There's people that absolutely wish I would die and this whole ministry would burn to the ground that won't face me on YouTube. Because they know that when I deal with them, I'm going to be dealing up front and I'm going to bring the raw truth, and the raw truth hurts. People don't like the raw truth. The raw truth, it hurts me, it hurts everybody. You know, when people come up to me and give me a solid rebuke, it stings. And I admit it. Unlike you, you don't admit any sin, Doug Perry. You think you're Jesus Christ in the flesh. You're like Dan Mohler. You think your cup is full like he does. You think your flesh is clean. You have the same false love as Todd White and Dan Mohler. The same thing. And it's not to say that everything you people preach is bad, but it's so unbalanced. It's lawlessness in the name of love. It's vanity and false humility in the name of love. When I show my love, it's got to be completely authentic or it makes me want to throw up. And when I see you on there acting all like the victim, it makes me want to throw up, Doug. It really does.
I only have to please God, and I'm terrified by what all of this means for his soul. Over the last week, I've tried to make a video response to all this. Twice I recorded about an hour-long video, trying to use it as a teaching moment, responding to some of his accusations and urging him to stop being a bully and a thug.
Here's where Doug uses the defense that he's using it as a teaching moment because he doesn't want you to believe he's defending himself because he's been ridiculing me that when people go out and speak evil of me on the internet, I come out and defend myself and I give an answer to what they were saying. He's not supposed to ever be doing that, but he has to do that now. So instead of him admitting he's a hypocrite and he's up here defending himself, he says, oh, I'm just doing it because it's a teaching moment. Because I'm righteous, Doug Perry. Nothing I do is ever hypocritical or unholy. What a joke, Doug. I hope everyone sees through your garbage.
After each video, God told me that it was not right and I couldn't put it out online. And not because it was completely bad. Maybe it was just one line. Like maybe I shouldn't have said that the difference between me and Chris is like the difference between William Lane Craig and Fred Phelps. Yeah, that could have been it. Or maybe because I said I thought Chris was unable to recognize anyone as his elder and was accountable to no one.
There we have Doug. He couldn't help himself. He has to start throwing insults. So he said the difference between me and him is like William Lane Craig and Fred Phelps. He's saying I'm Fred Phelps.
Or maybe it's just because I raised my voice a little too much, or I wasn't clearly loving enough. Whatever it was, I'm wondering how it is that I can hear the Holy Spirit slice right through whatever fleshy thing I'm about to do and block me from it, when I was really trying to do something in love, but it wasn't just right. But Chris can't seem to hear the Holy Spirit tell him not to load up that nasty 2-hour vicious hit piece. Or worse, he did hear God tell him not to do it and did it anyway.
So who said it's not of God? Doug Perry. And he's trying to just sway your mind to make you... No, it absolutely was of God. That was what God led me to say about Doug Perry. That's been on my heart for a long time. To expose him for what he's doing. With his donations and with people coming there and visiting there. And the sin that goes on there. That's been on my heart for a long time. He's making up the story that it's not of God for me to expose it. Him.
And then he needs scriptural proof why he shouldn't have. So I've just been praying about trying to figure out if I should try to do a video a third time. And in the middle of the night, a few days ago, God puts a thought into my head. It was simply this. When the people stood before Jesus and said, Lord, Lord, and he said, I never knew you, what is it they said they had done in his name? It was about 3 in the morning, so you'll forgive me for being groggy. So I reached for my phone to look up Matthew 7. Here's what it says. Matthew 7:21 to 24. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles or great works? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. Hey, they were casting out demons. And evidently it worked, like the sons of Sceva in Acts 16, and prophesying and doing mighty miracles. And all along they were sure they were doing it for the Lord. It seems clear that these three things are seductive or convincing enough to fool people into believing they're doing it for God, when in fact, he never knew them. And it occurs to me that there is no verse that says, "But Lord, we fed the hungry in your name and housed the homeless and cared for the widows." And Jesus says, "Get away from me, I never knew you."
Actually, Doug, you're completely wrong. It covers all works, that verse. And this is why you should never contend with me, Doug. It says, have we not cast out devils? Have we not done many wonderful works? That would include all the things you're talking about, Doug. So people are going to be out there doing all kinds of outward deeds, and they never knew the Lord. There are people feeding the needy that don't know the Lord, Doug. And if you don't know that, you're just ignorant and you don't belong in ministry. And here you go on to say that sometimes it worked when the sons of Sceva cast out demons. Please show me that in the Bible. That's not biblical. Anyway, let's go on.
Nope, just not in there. In fact, James 1:27 says, "Pure and undefiled religion in the sight of our God and Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself unstained by the world." So I think to myself, what are these words of his that they should have been putting into practice but didn't? Verse 24 says, "Everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is a wise man." So I go to the top of chapter 7 to see if that's where the conversation started. And would you know, right there, Jesus says in verse 1, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you."
That's right, and you're going to be judged for the pride you're accusing me of when you don't admit you have any fault. You're going to be judged for misusing ministry money because you comment on my paneling. So we're both going to be judged for the way we use ministry money, Doug. And I guarantee you're going to be found wanting. I guarantee you 100% certainty. You have no evidence whatsoever that you've done anything good with that money other than fiddle around with animals and buy yourself a farm. Sorry for you, Doug. When you face Jesus Christ, he's going to say, Doug, did you not beg everyone for money and buy goats and chickens and a tractor for yourself? Did you not ask everyone for a hammer mill and use my sheep as a labor farm? Oh, you, Doug, you have no love for people. You prideful, delusional lunatic. It's Chris who brought them there, fed them, prayed for them, gave them good doctrine, tried to get them jobs, tried to help them, tried to do the right thing, didn't make them his slaves, all that. That's what God's going to say to me, Doug. And I'm 100% certain of that. No one that ever came here could ever say that I brought them here and I didn't do the right thing by them. All they could say is Chris got mad at times, Chris had fights with his wife, Chris is not made perfect in love yet, he's a work in progress. Yeah, guess what? Everybody's a work in progress. Everybody has fears in them still. There are certain things that'll scare any person. They haven't been made perfect in love. Jesus Christ was scared of nothing. When the wind came and all that stuff, and the devil came, and even when he was about to go on the cross, he still was stressed out, but he wasn't afraid because he was perfect in love. We are not like that. Nobody here has yet attained. The Bible says, not as though I have already attained or am I already perfect, but I press on toward the mark, the same mark that Christ walked in, the mark of perfection. We're supposed to strive for that, but we haven't attained it.
Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. Wow. So at that point, you can imagine that I'm really feeling like the Lord is speaking to me about this mess with Chris, and it doesn't sound good. Would any of us really want to be judged by God? By the kind of harsh, impossible to please, condemning, picky judgments that Chris has been using? Does Chris himself want to be judged as harshly by God? The passage I started with is toward the very end of the Sermon on the Mount that starts in Matthew 5. So let me give you some bullet points on the stuff in there that Jesus says to do, and you compare it to what Chris is doing. Matthew 5:3, blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who mourn. Chris openly mocked anyone who mourned in the comments to the video. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are the pure in heart. Blessed are the peacemakers.
Blessed are those who sell sodas to their disciples. Blessed are those who sell t-shirts under their YouTube channel. Blessed are those who take ministry money and buy goats and chickens with it. Doug, I don't always need to portray all these gentle qualities when I'm rebuking somebody. You want to see me gentle? Go see me when I'm playing with the children. You want to see Jesus Christ being gentle? Go look at him when he was playing with the children. Stop quoting all these verses and pretending like I have no love, Doug, because I didn't show you any outward love. I'm not trying to sit there to appear loving to you, Doug. The Bible says rebuke them harshly. I don't need to come with hugs and flowers for you. And that's where I'm going to end this video. Because Doug goes on to read verses about gentleness, being caring, loving, all that stuff. Look. God will judge me, people. We'll see at the end who was caring and loving. It must be a lot more caring and loving to use people as a labor farm than to bring them here, cast demons out of them, and help them get jobs, and help them get their lives together. Please, please, Doug, give me a break. Everyone sees through your junk. Let's put an end to this. We don't need to keep going back and forth. It's You know what? The only reason I brought this up is because all of the subtle manipulating you're doing in this video. Doug, I hope you repent. You're in big trouble if you don't repent. Anybody with a brain or discernment knows it. You don't call me to repent, Doug. Your ministry doesn't bear the fruits for you to counsel me, Doug. There is no good fruit that I see coming out of your ministry. A bunch of manipulation and a bunch of lazy people getting free food from a supermarket and stuffing it in a $2,000 car and driving around giving it to 5 people doesn't warrant you coming and teaching me, Doug. Sorry, it just doesn't. Prove your ministry, like the Bible says. Be blessed, everyone, and have a good day.
If you send $100 to this ministry, or a dollar, or 1,000, or 10,000, or whatever, you got a share in this. So in heaven, when there's the big receiving line for all the people that are in the kingdom because of my efforts, you get to stand right next to me and shake their hand too, as if you were an equal partner in it all. If you pledged money and you haven't sent it already, please do right away, because this coming week we're going to have to start writing checks. It's going that fast. And if you've been thinking about it and you're waiting to see, I'm telling you, God is all over this. It is so beautiful. And if you got a feeling to send something, $10 or 100,000 or whatever you can afford. If you send $100 to this ministry, or a dollar, or 1,000, or 10,000, or whatever, you got a share in this. And if you got a feeling to send something, $10 or 100,000 or whatever you can afford. If you send $100 to this ministry, or a dollar, or 1,000, or 10,000, or whatever, you got a share in this.